Hey, this is Sporty King, and welcome to Glue Wednesday. GLUE. God's love undoes everything. Look, right now I'm actually on early. My broadcast actually starts at 1, but there are a couple of schools of thought in terms of how you use your technology. I always say I want to come on early. Some people say, well, don't come on until you're scheduled to come on. But I say, I come on 3 to 5 minutes early because, then Facebook sends out a message saying, Sporty is about to go live. And so you may have had it on your agenda, but then you say, oh my God, I forgot. Wait, I need to close this down. And so in the process of closing that thing down, you may miss the very beginning of the broadcast. Not that you can't look at it on a video later, like some people are doing now, but some people really like to be there right at the beginning. Also, this is the spot where I do my shout outs. But so I like to say, excuse me, I like to start the broadcast early and give people the chance to get that one more thing done, because we've got less than 4 minutes right now to start the real broadcast. Get that thing out of the way, clear the desk, chill out and relax and get ready for a good message, because I'm going to bring you a good message. So glad to see you on there. And then what I do is I also keep my other Facebook page open. So because what I'm using, just always like to give you a technology lesson. I'm using what's called StreamYard. And what StreamYard does is it has a slight tape delay in broadcasting. So what I do is I turn on my other computer so I can see the feed live. And if there's any questions I can answer right in the moment, I'll do that. We've got less than 3 minutes for today's message. Okay, so just letting you know in advance. I see I got 4 people on right now. Good to see y'all. Welcome. If this is your first time on Glue Wednesday, I hope it's not your last. But I started Glue Wednesday 3 years ago, 2017. And I started based on the cliche that so many people say Wednesday is hump day because the middle of a 5-day work week. Old school, we only said 5 days of work week and the weekend, totally separate things. But with flex time and over the years, and truly not everyone works from Monday to Friday. So I said, let's look at the fact that Wednesday is actually the middle of a traditional 7-day week. And so it keeps the week beginning and the week end together. So Wednesday is the glue. And as the glue, as you can see, it puts us in a prayerful mode right away. And that's my GLUE. God's love undoes everything. Not that it tears things apart, but that whatever's torn apart, it will bring together. So that's why I created Glue Wednesday. We've got 2 minutes to go before this live broadcast. But anyway, so that's how I started Glue Wednesday. And during the pandemic, I actually expanded Glue Wednesday to Mondays and Fridays. Well, this month, what I've done is I've taken a different edge and a different direction with Monday and Friday. So to try to keep us in an inspirational mode all week, Monday is called Monday Moment. It's a 1 to 2 minute inspirational message. And Friday is called Gift Friday, GIFT. Excuse me, God is for today. And what I'll do is read one of my original poems and then gift it to you, where you can click on a free download, a PDF download, and have a copy of the poem for yourself. And that's a 10 to 12 minute message. And then today, Glue Wednesday is always usually going to be 30 to 45 minutes. We got less than a minute for today's message. And this is the interactive one. Where I'll be talking back and forth with you. And that's why I say 30 to 45 minutes, because it depends on what kind of comments I get in the feed, and I'll answer those. So we have pretty much a nice discussion on Glue Wednesday. So just different ways to keep you inspired and also to keep myself inspired, because as we share love, because that's what happens, I give to you, you give to me. And so that's the beauty and joy of it. So we've got less than 1 minute to go. And then I do my shout outs if people come on early. Hey, they've got a new thing here. Let me see. Oh my goodness. Yes, they've got a new feature here on StreamYard, where I can actually send comments to you, where before that was something, can't post comments to some destinations, learn more. Interesting. So they've got a new twist. All right. Oh, okay. I can only post the comments to people who are on my business page, and that's the top line page. Man, isn't that beautiful? You learn something new every day about technology. Okay, well, let's get started on today's message. Okay, and I call it Glue Wednesday. And my topic today, as you saw in the promo, is Siamese twins, and it's a question mark. Okay, because what I'm talking about when I talk about Siamese twins, I talk about hate and love. Are they actually Siamese twins? But first, I went and looked up Siamese twins. I did some Google research. You got to do that, all right? Okay, Siamese twins are actually called, the medical term is called conjoined twins. Conjoined twins are identical twins joined in the uterus, a very rare phenomenon. The occurrence is estimated to range from 1 in 49,000 births to 1 in 189,000 births, with a somewhat higher incidence in Southwest Asia and Africa. What happens is two babies are born physically connected to each other. Conjoined twins develop when an early embryo partially separates to form two individuals. Most conjoined twins are stillborn or die shortly after birth. Now, the babies are often attached at the chest, pelvis, or buttocks. The twins may even share organs. It depends. Surviving twins may be separated surgically, but the success depends on where they're joined and which organs they share. The only letter or organ that hate and love share is the E. Hate is H-E-A-T, hurt attached to expectation. And love is L-O-V-E, let ourselves value everyone. And think about it. We have expectations of everyone. How we approach those expectations is what helps us separate the twins. So let's first look at hate. Okay? We see, let me get that out of there. We see and hear it in regard to relationships a lot. Okay? All the time. We hate someone for breaking our hearts. Yet, if and when we take responsibility for the joy that comes into our lives, we can see that we sought to make that person fit and boost or cement or complete our joy, which we are ultimately responsible for. So you see, sometimes when we say someone broke our heart or we hate that person, we try to make them be who we needed to be to complete ourselves, when in fact we are responsible for completing ourselves and bringing the joy into our lives. Hey, what's up, Penny? Okay, so sometimes we want to make it somebody else's responsibility, but we are responsible for our own joy. Okay, I'm going to put a spin on it, and not a positive spin, by the way, just a spin. Watch this. Let me see. I got a comment here. I want to say hi. Hey, Uncle Sporty's family. I'm going to do my shout outs a little late today. That's no problem. What's going on, Roger Carroll? And this is one of the things that we enjoy doing. That's why I say this is the interactive day. This is ours. Okay. And we have established a little family here on Glue Wednesday. And thank you, Roger Carroll, for being the head of that family. You're going to see some other family members come in and say hello to the family. And so that's the part of the joy and the fun that we have here on Glue Wednesday. But let's get back to this hate, what hate is doing, okay? Here's the spin that I want to put on it about how we have to be responsible for our own joy. We've nurtured, just check it out, in the past, we've nurtured false expectations of who someone was. We've nurtured that. Then they showed us who they really were. We ignored it. Then it slapped us. And then guess what? That's their fault. Okay, so we've had false, oh, this is the man or the woman of my dreams. They're going to do this and that. So we had these false expectations of who this person was, and we nurtured them. In other words, we kept doing things to keep that relationship going. We let this and that go. We said, oh, that's okay. No, he or she is just in a mood, and I'm going to be able, and that's the different one. This is the one for me. And by the way, P.S., by the way, I'm not saying that cannot happen, that you can't meet that instant love, but I'm talking about when it doesn't happen. Because when we talk about breaking hearts or our heart being broken, we're talking about what someone else did. Okay, so don't lose me and don't let me lose you. Okay, so we had this expectation of who this person was. Then they showed us that they really weren't that person. See, we nurtured that relationship, we dealt with it, and then they showed us that that's not who they were. And then what we do? We ignored it. Nah, I'm just getting the wrong vibe today. That's really, they really do love me. They really are that person. But I'm going to give them another chance. And that's what we end up doing. So we ignore it. Then finally, we get, because like I said, we're responsible for our own joy. Finally, we get fed up and then break up. And now we blame them for breaking our heart, for showing us who they really were at the very beginning. Okay. So, think about it, that, the pain is really from the time that you kept them on board. See, that's where the broken heart is. That's the pain, hurt, attached to expectation. You kept this person in your life for X amount of time, however much time you kept them there. That's where the pain comes from. Because think about it, if you meet someone and you go out and you say, "Oh, that didn't really click," and you break up, it's no pain. It's fine. But it's the fact that you stayed in there and hung in there with that person that creates the pain. So that's the pain. It's really from how long you kept them on board. Because remember, they showed that they really weren't who you had expectations of them being, and you still nurtured it, and you still let that ride, and then you finally gave up on it. So it's up to you how long you keep them in there. Let me get a shout out there to Haas. Greetings, Brother Sporty and family. Yes, my family come in. I'm definitely going to have to acknowledge them, because this is our time. I'm going to keep reminding us of that. All right. So let's go back to that. Okay. The pain is how long you kept them on the board. It was that time where you said, I'm gonna just let this go one more time. It's that I'm going to let this is the last straw, one more straw. This is the final warning. You keep saying those things, but you kept extending it. See, so you use, this is the last time. This is my final straw. This is the final warning. And then you still had another warning. And see, so you kept extending it. Now, I'm not slapping anybody's wrist on there, because I think it's not easy separating from someone that you love. So hold on while I swing us over to the other twin, because I want to give each twin a little bit of time before we break down where we're going to go with the twins. All right. So here's the other twin. Love. Everyone starts out. Okay, you need to get that out of there. Everyone starts out with, love. LOVE. Let ourselves value. Hey, what's up, Liddell? Say that. See, this is where I'm supposed to be looking over at the live to see when I said what. Okay, but I'll get back. All right. But love is LOV. Let ourselves value everyone. Now, everyone, that E that they share, the twins share, everyone starts with being one. One with God and one with yourself. See, let ourselves value everyone, but you've got to be everyone. You have to value the gift of life that God has entrusted to you to nurture in this world. See, God has given each of us a life. Here, Sporty, here's the life I want you to nurture. Here, Roger Carroll, here, Jose, here, Liddell, here's the life I want you to nurture. And that's where your everyone starts, with you and God. And there is no one else like you, and no one who can love you more unconditionally than you love yourself. Why? Because you know everything that you've done. You know everything that you've done, and you still forgive yourself, which you should do, by the way. That's another broadcast. Always remember to forgive yourself and believe in yourself. And clear your throat when you have to. Okay, but check it out. Your expectations weigh heaviest on you. Why? Because you're your own worst enemy. We always said, I'm my own worst enemy. How often are we remembering to say, but I'm also my biggest fan? And that's why your expectations weigh heaviest on you, because you're your worst enemy, but you're also your biggest fan. You know everything that you did. You know that this thing that you did that you really aren't proud of, and you might not forgive somebody else for doing that, but you're going to forgive yourself. And that becomes a hard place to be, y'all. That's why I say it's not necessarily easy. That's why I say I'm not slapping wrists. I'm saying, these are the conversations that we got to have with ourselves. And I got a better example for that coming to you toward the end. But remember that that's who you give one more time and one last straw and a final warning. You need to give it to yourself. That's the person that you want to make sure that you give that one more chance and that last straw and the final warning, because you have to say, you know what, I did this and now I'm not going to do that again, or next time I'm going to do this differently. Okay, that's the last time. You see, you have to give that to yourself. Why? Because when you give it to yourself, you know whether or not you're being honest with yourself. It's when someone kicks a habit, they know whether or not, if someone goes and joins a 12-step program, they know whether or not they intend to go to 12, the 12-week program, 12 steps, whatever it is. Only they know that. You've got people there to support you, and a program that says, where you should be in week 1, here's where you should be in step 2, step 3. But if you don't have that commitment, if you haven't made that decision to say, you know what, this was the final warning. That was the last chance. I'm going to break that addiction. I'm going to break that relationship. I'm going to break that partnership, and I'm going to move on. Only you know just how much you believe that, because that is how much you value yourself. LOVE. Let ourselves value everyone, and the one is you. How you value yourself can make a difference. Let's pause and see what we got there. Say it. True indeed. Thank you. And yes, Adele, thank you. And again, thank you for supporting me with buying your copy of Morning, Noon, and Night. All my products are available at my website. And it's not a shameless plug. It's an expression of sharing resources. Because see, what I have to realize is that I come into your life on this broadcast, and I thank you for joining, but you have to be the one that stays in your life. Whoever you use as your resource, as your role model, your messenger, you have to know how to keep connected to that person. So support whoever product you need to. And I would appreciate you supporting mine, because I'm not going to be with you tapping you and you say, hey, psst, you need to be positive. You have to find a way to carry that with yourself. And that's why I say I enjoy everybody who comes on the broadcast as family, because y'all show me how to say, to share that and keep the message going. Okay, what you say? You like to say enough is enough. Yeah, enough is enough. Yeah, and those final warnings, enough is enough. And when you say enough is enough, think about your body language when you say that. Don't you put your foot down? No one says, oh, enough is enough. You say, enough is enough. It's like a statement. I'm done. I'm done. And you know what? The key is that we don't have to get angry. That's where we're going to be going with this whole broadcast today, is just to remind us that we don't have to get angry. We just have to recognize what we're dealing with and who we're dealing with. And what's the truth? Who you're really dealing with? You're dealing with yourself. You're dealing with yourself, and God is dealing with you. So yes, sometimes enough is enough, but you have to decide what that enough really is. Because it's based on, one of the things I always say, one of my prayers every day is that I can be less judgmental, because I know I'll never make it to be a non-judgmental. Why? Because our lives are based on the experiences that we have. See, we're all judgmental. Don't think that you're not. Here's the cliche to help you with that. You know how we say, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me? That's judgmental. Because what it's saying is, the first time you scam me, shame on you, you got me. The next time someone comes up and they looks like you or starts to use that same scam, I'm going to recognize it, because I'm going to remember it from before. So what am I doing now? My memory is judgment. I'm saying, here goes that scam again. This is that person that's just like that person that scammed me before. That's judgmental. So here's the key. Can I just be less judgmental? Because then I can have a spot that catches myself and say, wait a minute. I know this is not that same person that scammed me. I know this is not that person that cheated on me in the relationship. I know this is not that business partner that went behind my back and signed a contract and stole my business. See, I know this is not that person. So let me calm down, woosah, and give this person a chance to be who they are. So the wall that I built up, once you instantly sent off my spidey senses that here comes that scam, I'm going to allow me to walk around that wall and meet you for who you are. That's what I consider less judgmental. To where, yes, I'm going to instantly decide I'm not going to let that. That's the second part of that cliche. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. See, that's, yeah, shame on me for letting this happen again. Judgmental. Okay, so it's not a bad thing, but it's a human reaction. But what are you going to do now? Go to the second level of a human reaction and recognize who you're dealing with. And now, oh, but this is Liddell. This is not that person that did this to me. So let me go on and deal with her. And that's what you do, because now who are you really dealing with? Yeah, you're dealing with yourself. See, let me release who I decided he or she was. Let me release that and bring back the trust. Because now that I've got a person who I'm seeing them for who they are, I've got an opportunity to extend that relationship and let it be the best thing that ever happened in my life. So there's always something going on. And it's a tough decision. It's not easy being you, but you is who you've got. All right. So remember, let ourselves value everyone. And the one is you. That's a beautiful thing. So let's move on with that. Okay. How can we feed that value of who we are? Well, let's first realize that we can learn more from a negative role model sometimes, because what we do is we focus on not replicating their spirit. See, a lie. I have a poem that says, "A lie reminded me to tell the truth. A selfish person made me want to share." Yeah, see, sometimes it's the negative role models in our lives that we can learn best from, because we focus on not replicating really their negative spirit. And that's a conscious choice, and should therefore serve notice to us that we can make the decision to let people in our lives as well as control what they bring into our lives. Say it again, Sporty. We can make the conscious decision to let people in our lives as well as control what they bring into our lives, especially how long we let them settle in. And let's look at that word settle. I decided I want to look at the word settle because it has a definition of balancing the calm, right? You want to settle things down. Let's balance the calm. But it also connotes a disposition of personal acceptance. You know, when you settle for somebody, we sometimes enable others and surrender who we are or what we believe to keep them who we want, to keep them in our lives. So that's when we settle for someone. See, we change our way of looking at things. We enable them by letting them keep this goes back to before Haas, like say, well, enough is enough. This goes back to before we said enough is enough. It's the one more chance, another straw, the final warning. We've been enabling people. See, if you don't like the way somebody treats you, change the way you allow them to treat you. And so that's what happens is when we get to this point where we suddenly settle for someone else. And when we do that, we enable them and we surrender who we are. We give up being who we are just so that we can keep that person in our lives. Haven't you seen somebody do that? Again, not wrist slapping here, because it's tough in a relationship of any kind, romantic, business, family. It's tough when you love and trust somebody to separate from them. Not an easy thing to do. But you have to get to where you get to what Haas says, where you say to yourself, enough is enough. That was a great song too. Okay, but so now that we've established that, let's go back to looking at hate. And let's apply those things that we just talked about. Let's apply that to what's going on and some of the political unrest, the social injustice, and the separation that we're experiencing in our country and worldwide. Because guess what? It's not new. It's not new. Let me see what we got here. Negative vibes is not allowed in our lives. And that, you know what? Put it like they say, put a pin in that. Negative vibes should not be allowed in our lives. But the truth is, you get 5 times more negative vibes than you get positive ones on a daily basis. I'm not saying 5 and 1, 5 times as many. So if you get 5 positive vibes, you got 25 negative ones. It takes 5 positive impressions to overcome and outweigh 1 negative. And that's okay. And that's not, it can take 3, but it's the science behind it, the research. But the key is we want to get to what you're saying right there, Haas. You have to have that sign that says negative vibes. You don't have a home here. Didn't Teddy Pendergrass sing "A House Is Not a Home"? Okay. You don't have a home here. So you've got to take the negative vibes out, because they're coming. They're knocking on the door. There's no such thing as you having a day of no negative vibes. Not possible. Not possible. The key is, do you have a day of positive vibes? Do you have enough positive vibes stored up for the negativity that's coming at you? Because it's coming. And it's coming full-fledged, because negativity means it's like, no, I'm here to stay and I'm taking over. So thank you. Negative vibes are not allowed. In fact, what we got to do is it an adverb? Yeah, adverb. They're not allowed to stay in our lives, because they will be there, but you can't allow them to stay. See, look at how we handle in those Siamese twins, all right? You can't allow them to stay, because you will get the negative vibes, okay? So this is what I was saying, okay? But all the stuff that's going on in our lives right now, it's not new. It's going on in our world. It's not new. It's the news. It's the news. And a lot of times old people like to say, or older, our generation, we like to champion the fact that, if things were not this way back in the day. Hello, bulletin. They've always been this way. What's happening now is not new. It's now reported. It's news. And here's the saying that I haven't. See, we didn't have access to the fire because we were only dealing with our local flames. That's the poet in me. We didn't have access to the fire because we were only dealing with our local flames. I grew up in New York. I didn't need to know what was going on in Los Angeles, in Arizona, in Wyoming. And I didn't know, because we didn't have the technology and the capability of finding that out. And so even when we used to watch sports games, the sports games were regional. You don't get to see that, they black out depending on where you are. So that's why the fire, the big picture of what's going on in the world, because we only dealt with the flames, our local. And in this case, local is the United States right now. COVID is a world fire. Local is the United States. One of the blessings that I just had a couple of weeks ago, I'm in a Laughter Association of Applied and Therapeutic Humor, and we have a Humor Academy class that we a certification program that we take to become certified humor professionals. And so I'm facilitating one of the classes, and one of the beauties that I found out, and I think I mentioned it on the broadcast earlier, is that I'm in a group, and I have 2 members in my group who are from Indonesia. And yes, they're from Indonesia. And you know what? As we were in our meeting, we had a Zoom meeting a couple of weeks ago, and one of them told me that he had been nervous that he had COVID. And so he had to get tested and blah, blah, blah. And see, we see the statistics about what's going on in the United States, and we hear where we are in terms of the total deaths in the world. But have you had a chance to have a conversation with someone in another part of the world about how they are receiving and reacting to COVID? It blew my mind. It was such a small sample. But to hear him say, yeah, I was worried that I'm like, wow, that's right. Yeah, it's not just us being here, turning this into a political battle about, how many COVID cases and this and that. People everywhere are nervous and scared. So that's the fire, and we're the flame. We're just the United States. It's not a United States problem. It's a world problem right now. And amen is right. Right? AMEN, a message that everyone needs. And that's the key. Can we share the message? And can we hold on to it? Because we say we can, but can we and do we? This is not this is not in our backyard. This is in our neighborhood now. And the neighborhood is our world. So thank you. Thank you, Roger Carroll. Thank you, Haas. True indeed. And the truth shall set you free. Woo! Keep it moving. All right. So I like that line. That's one of my poetic lines. You don't have access we didn't have access to the fire because we're only dealing with our local flames. So again, where was I? As much as I may think about that, so as much as I may speak against the fact that, because I always say, good news doesn't sell, so be careful how much news you watch. Good news doesn't sell, or it doesn't get the rating. Only bad news does. I do recognize that it's important to keep up with the news. As my pastor, Stephen Furtick, says at Elevation Church, he said, I don't watch the news, I keep up with the news. And that could be the difference in your life. Watching the news can put you, this is that negative vibe that you were talking about. Watching the news and fixating yourself on the news can put that negative vibe into you, where you become immune to it. We become somewhat desensitized to bad news because we turn on the TV and we expect it. You don't go to the news saying, let's see what's good is going on in the world. You turn on the news and you're about to hear the latest tragedy and where it's happened. You're ready to catch your breath about someone being a child being abducted, some type of social injustice, some kind of political ramification, some type of injury in sports. We turn it on because we've become somewhat desensitized to pain. It's a part of our day. It's a part of our expectation. And so what can you do to not feed that expectation is what I'm saying too. There's that E in hate. Expectation, hurt attached to expectation. See, we feel for these people, but we have the expectation that we're going to get the news. We're going to get some bad news so that we can feel the pain and the empathy. That's what we want to do, and sympathy, because we expect bad news to the point where we become a little bit desensitized to it. But again, I say to you, I'm not going to say that we shouldn't recognize and appreciate that awareness gives us choices. So we have to be up on the news. We need to know what's going on. The voting season registration started yesterday. If you're watching this on the broadcast, today is September 23rd. So September 22nd is when the voting began. So make sure that you register to vote, okay? But that's the thing. Be aware of the choices that you have based on your experiences. That's what you got to get some news. Get the news that applies to you. All right. Sometimes you have to recognize that the hate is the expectation seeking a confirmation of how or why we hurt. Now, what do I mean by that? Sometimes the hate is the expectation of us seeking a confirmation of why or how we hurt. See, in other words, because I don't want to like certain people or certain situations, what I do is I gather information, as much information and ammunition as possible, to drown out any possibility that they have the right to disagree with me. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to agree with you. I don't like you. I don't like the type of person you are. I don't like the situation. So it's called a confirmation bias. We get enough information to justify our dislike for something, and we don't bother looking at the flip side of that coin. We don't want to see the goodness in it. Good. There's enough badness in it for me to fuel my anger and my pain and say that I don't like that. And it drowns out any possibility that they have the right to disagree with us, because everybody has the right to disagree with us. And so as long as they're meeting my expectation of me, of not liking what they have, then as long as they're meeting my expectation, guess what? I continue to meet theirs. Because the same way I wanted to find something that I could use to strengthen myself and reserve against them. They found something that can use to strengthen their reserve against me. Take a break there and see what Tracy said. I like what you said about choices. And I don't remember what I said about choices. What did I say about choices? I know I said, I think that was way back when I talked about the choice to bring people into our lives. It doesn't matter how far back it is, because it has to hit us and we have to find ways to stay with it. Tracy, and I'll give a little history there, because Tracy's in Chicago, and I used to always, when I was in Chicago, it's a great memory. See, this is what life is about. This is where that vibe is that you talked about, Haas, is when I used to speak with the Chicago Department on Aging. at the senior citizen centers. And then after I spoke with my seniors, I'd always go back to Tracy's office. It was Tracy. Oh my God, Tracy, who there was three of them back there in that office. Tracy, Frida, and because I always go back and talk with them after I spoke, and just really had a good time. And so that was, so thank you, Tracy. It's good to see you on board. And there goes family completely again. Vic, got to get in there and say hello from Vic. All right, what you say? Yeah, you made it. You probably got an automatic thing that you could just paste in and say that, because that's how you always have to come in here. But we love you, and we always got a spot for you. Vic knows he's got a spot at the table. Do you know that you have a spot at the table wherever you are? See, that goes back to that value that we're talking about, and it moves us right into what we're talking about. And that is that I always say to you, take a stand. Take a stand for what you believe and who you believe in. I will always encourage you to do that. What I encourage you, my request to you, is that you take the venom out of your disagreement, because it's hurting you. See, when you disagree with somebody, take that venom out. It's hurting you. It's not necessarily hurting that person. All right. And so what you have to do is recognize that you can't win a long battle when you're hurt. That's why you got to take the venom out. The venom of disagreement is hurting you, and you can't win a long battle when you're hurt. You can win a quick battle with playing through pain, but not a long one. And this is a long battle. We're in a long battle right now, which can only be won by calmer heads prevailing. Remember, we talked about settling the calm. The calm heads have to prevail, and spirits. And that's what we all want in the first place, is that we want the calmer heads to prevail. Of course, with us getting the outcome with the way we want it, but we all have the right to have to want it that way as well. What we got here? True indeed. Okay. My lifetime friend. And how about them Cowboys? Oh, okay. True indeed. Lifetime friends. Me and Vic, man, we've known each other for over 50 years, close to 60. And that's interesting, because we grew up in the projects. And a lot of times people get caught up with saying, oh, well, you grew up in the projects. But this is interesting to me. I always tell people, if we had grown up on a block of houses, we know enough people who have died that we would be out of friends on that block. But having grown up in the projects, we still have twice as many of those friends. It's, again, the situation. It's the situation, it's the environment that you grew up in that makes a difference. How you look, how you feed your Siamese twins hate or love. And what you say, Roger Carroll, John Lewis and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, modeling, let's see, what was I just talking about that you taking me request? You take the venom out. Right. I know that. Thank you. See that's the thing. The examples are usually right there in our lives. They're usually right there. But there's what Haas talking about, that vibe, the negative. See, the negative stuff is coming in. Can you find the positive in it? Because certainly when John Lewis or Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, that was not negative, but it was hurt. We just lost them. But we have to say, okay, but what's the good that's got to come out of that? And now we have to hang in there and make the good come out. What did John Lewis say? What did he say? Fight the good fight, fight some good trouble. We got to fight. All right. So great losses. And we've experienced a lot of great losses. Come on, I'm 65 now. I've experienced a lot of great people. Some people read in the history books and you reading about someone dying. We've experienced, depending on how long you've been there, you've experienced some deaths. And the broadcast is not about death. The broadcast is always about life. But death is a part of life. And what are you doing now? How are you handling your expectations and everyone, your Siamese twins? So, yeah. And so, take a moment and just think about those two, Ruth, especially since Ruth is just the latest, and John Lewis. Just a lot of great people that we've had the joy of seeing in our lives. But recognize that you cannot win a long battle when you're hurt. There's another one of my lines that I like. See, when God gives me a line, I get excited too. And so I appreciate when you get excited. But that's the key, is that we have to have a message that excites us. What they call it, energizing the base. And you have to be your base. You have to be part of your base. So it's always good to have that message that can energize the base and just make you think about what's going on and what's going on in your life. Hey, there, thank you, Carolyn. Getting some good trouble. There's family, see my family. That's another one known for over 50 years. All right, the projects, beautiful thing. Okay, so it's really about if everybody's got a little something to add to what we need to collectively make ourselves go forward, we got to make sure that we make room for that person to add that. So again, see your value. What I want you to do is see your value on the link of the chain of calmness. All these things we're talking about. Ruth, John Lewis is gone. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is gone. What are you doing? Are you on the link of the chain of calmness? Or now that they're gone, do we now just run amok? No, somebody else has got to pick up the mantle and take that. So what you got there, Vic? Take the venom out and never let them affect your soul. Trump is out of my life, and I pray now for us all to be together. Yeah, see, he's on the news every day. And he's on the news. He's on Twitter. He's on the radio. You know, how much exposure are you going to, how much space are you going to allow him to rent in your life? You got to, it goes back to what I was saying about the confirmation bias. If you already know that you're not voting for him, why are you constantly looking up him on the news so that you can get mad at him? If you've already made that decision, and conversely, if someone has already decided they're not going to vote for Biden, what kind of conversation are you really going to have? I'm going to come to that because we're going to talk about how important it is, what it really takes to agree to disagree. So let me get to that because that is kind of where I want to close out. But yeah, you've got to minimize his time in your head because as you constantly listen to it, you get deeper entrenched in the anger. Because yeah, I tell you, his voice is sickening to me. So I minimize how much I listen to it. And that's just my option. I have that right. It's no different than someone who doesn't like a sports team. Victor mentioned the Cowboys earlier. You know how many. One of my best friends, Marvin, is here right now. He was a big Redskins fan, and and even in our project, we used to have hard conversations about teams that we didn't like and say things about players. Hey, politics is just another game, y'all. And so we got to recognize that you have the right to say what you have to say and feel how you feel. But when we finish talking, we're talking about our teams. And then we go on and play our games. See, so even if, you're thinking, see this sign up here, Stronger Together, that's from Hillary Clinton's campaign. It's what I believe. But that means, so it's like me hanging my banner. Hang your banner. There's no need to be angry at somebody else for that. It's a tough decision. Okay, it's a tough decision. Let's move on because, like I said, I want to give you some tips on what you can do so that you can make sure that you can win that battle. All right. See your value on the link of, I call it the chain of calm. And as you meet people, here we go. As you meet people with opposing positions, know that you cannot win them over by proving them that they're wrong. But that's what you just put in there, Vic. I can't win them over by proving that they're wrong. If someone is a Trump supporter, they're a Trump supporter. If I'm a Biden supporter, there's nothing you can say to make me leave being a Biden supporter to vote for Trump. So it's not about trying to prove them wrong. Okay, what it is, they will have the same veil and wall up to ignore any sense that you're making as well. You may think you're making sense. Oh, well, you shouldn't vote for this person because of that. And you think it makes all the sense in the world. How come they don't see it? They've got that same resolve to their candidate, to their team, to their family, to who they're loyal to. Everybody. And we all have that right. So you can't prove to me that I'm wrong for how I feel about what I'm doing. So here's what you can do. One, is listen for where you feel that they veered off of your path of righteousness. Because see, you think it's right. So you say, they've lost track. No, where is it that you think that they've lost track? Where's the spot that we don't agree? Listen for it. Don't just be so angry that you don't listen. Listen for where you think that we don't agree. So, because it's your path of righteousness. And is that a spot that you can find compromise? If not, you don't have to hate them. As hard as it may seem, you have to now value them. Think about what I said about learning from negative role models who give us something to focus on by not replicating it. You have to value them because you say, okay, no, I don't agree with them, but based on what I heard them say, the part I don't agree with, well, now my resolve is even stronger. Yeah, I don't agree with that. So I'm cool with that, but I don't have to hate them. And I'd like to see, I want to know where we disagree. I want to know where we disagree so that I can establish where and if we respect one another, because that's the key. We have to respect one another. At the end of the day, that's what must bring our two twins together. That hate and love, we bring those Siamese twins together through respect. And don't you, so that really is semi where it ends, but let me just extend it just a little to say, don't you remember seeing why the actors on a screen or in a play, they don't know how much they have in common because they're too busy letting other people poison their communication intake. That's that news, that's that other person's opinion by telling them how separate they are. But here's the story I want to leave you with. Remember this story? One evening, an old Cherokee told his grandson about a battle. Oh, I didn't even leave that up there. Make sure you see your link in the value of chat. Okay, I'm going to leave that up there while I talk about this, okay? But an old Cherokee Indian told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people, and already I'm sure you recognize it. He said, my son, the battle is between two wolves inside us all. It is a terrible fight, and it's between these two wolves. One is evil. He is angry, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. He said the other one is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside of you and inside every other person. The grandson said, well, which wolf will win? And the old Cherokee replied, the one that you feed. Even the Siamese twins have two different personalities. In real life, Siamese twins have two different personalities. And though I can't offer scientific or medical proof, I'll continue to remind you that the twin that you feed can influence the other one. Feed and value everyone, not just those who live up to your expectations. It's not easy, but it's what God intended. One of the things I thought about when I was reading this, and I thought about what Victor always likes to say, and I say it in there, light has to overcome the darkness. And what I add to it, even if it takes all night. Light has to overcome the darkness, even if it takes all night. We will do the same through sharing our love rather than our hate. So keep your head up, keep your spirit in the game, and remember that the letter E is also shared by the twins in the word glue, Glue. God's love undoes everything. The expectations, how we value everyone, and how we unglue, how we bring it back together. We bring everything back together through God's love. So you can handle your Siamese twins, but you got to make sure that you handle yourself. And like Vic said, like Haas said, get the negative vibes out. The negative vibes, there's no place for you in this house, in this storeroom. Okay? And Vic, I know he would like to talk about the light. So as we close out, what I want to just remind you of is that on Friday, I'll have Gift Friday. G-I-F-T, God is for today. And I'll read one of my original poems, and then you'll get a clickable PDF link where you can get a copy of that poem. And then on Monday, the Monday Moment, an inspirational message. Right now, I've got my little poll going on. What time you want me to put that broadcast up? 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern. 1 o'clock or 5 o'clock? Because do you want it to be one of the first things you see in the morning? Do you want it to pick you up in the middle of the day, or do you want it to close out your day or toward the end, even though we don't necessarily have a 9 to 5? Okay. But these are the three ways that I'm here to inspire you, as well as any other way that I could find, because I appreciate all of you as my family. And thank you for joining us on this broadcast live. And for those of you who are watching it, please make sure that you share it. But most importantly, make sure that you hear it, because we've all got the Siamese Twins going, but we all have God bringing us together. Thank you. God bless you. And I'll see you next week on Glue Wednesday. If not, well, because I really won't see you on Gift Friday or Monday Moments. All right. So, so you going with early? I'll take a break. Remember, this broadcast is for us. So yeah, do you like the early 8 o'clock? And it's interesting because I'm adding them up, and naturally, it's right now early is in the lead. I got 4 votes to 2 for 8 o'clock versus 1. No one's voted for 5 o'clock yet. So but I'll go with whichever is the most. So, but realistically, the people who want it at 1 will be able to wait till 1. I figure if there's enough people that want it at 8, I'll go with 8. At least that way, everybody gets fed. Remember, we're going to feed both of the wolves. So we're going to feed the most important one. We're going to feed ourselves. Hey, look, once again, get out there, voting, vote by mail, vote early. And then encourage someone. If you know someone's too young to vote, but they're 16, they can become a poll worker and work on the polls and get paid. So check that out. Check into that. This is America. We got options. Okay. So let's everybody get involved. All right. So thank you, my brothers who tell everybody goodbye. Vic says everybody be peaceful. Haas, be safe, stay focused, and stay alert. All right. So I say that same thing to you, because it's going to be all right. All right. Thanks again. God bless you, and ciao.